What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Really Bro Podcast. I am your host, Big Ken TV. You know what? We got a lot to talk about. We got this draft going on. We got Shedeur Sanders. We got everything popping. You understand? But first, before we get into all of that, there's I wouldn't say argument, but there is this thing that's just lighting up the internet. 100 men versus one gorilla. Now, half the people are saying that 100 men can beat a gorilla. And then you got the other half saying that one gorilla would murk 100 men. And let's be realistic about this. We're talking about 100 dudes, no weapons, barehanded against an animal. Now, with that being said, a gorilla, full grown, can reach up to between, I think, what they say, 400 to 600 pounds at about 5.5, 6 feet tall. You know, it's different varieties of gorillas. So I'm imagining they're thinking about a silverback gorilla with a bite force of 1,300 psi, whatever that means. I know compared to a human, we have 70 psi. So, I mean, he's biting through coconuts like it's an apple. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real. Let's be real. If you send 100 men in there, and one-on-one, the gorilla hands down, but we're not talking one-on-one. You got to have a strategy here, right? You have to have something to where, 10 of the men are distracting the gorilla, and then you have 40 just rush them from behind and grab an arm and grab a leg and start breaking fingers and breaking toes and choking them out. There will be some casualties, but 100 men can kill a gorilla. Okay. I don't think, you will have no choice. It's not like, a gorilla's going to fight and then say, okay, I tap out. Gorillas will not tap out. So you have no choice but to end him, right? Because he won't stop. I don't think the people that said that 100 men can't beat a gorilla took an account for a gorilla has low stamina. I mean, he might chew through the first 10, 20, 30 dudes, but he's going to wear out. He's going to tire. He doesn't have unlimited energy. He's all muscle. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, what does it take to sustain muscle? Energy, oxygen. That's why they know the nostrils are so big, because they need all the oxygen to inflate those big muscles and keep the blood getting to them. So for the people that saying, 100 men can't beat a gorilla, I get what you're saying. I understand the sheer power of a gorilla. I've seen enough on the Discovery Channel. I've seen enough at the zoo. I get it. Trust me. One-on-one, I'm the first one running. If it was a one-on-one, I'm not. You out your mind. He'll snap your bones like that. Bite into you like that. You'll be dead. That's why I say the first 10, 20 rushing in, murked. It's over. It's going to be slow singing and flower bringing. Dead, buried, however you want to call it. You got to have a strategy. In my strategy, if I was included in the 100 dudes, which I wouldn't be, even with a plan to defeat him, I wouldn't sign up. You have to distract him. And then you would have some dudes come behind and grab each limb, like I said before, and start breaking fingers and toes, because he can't grab you with broken fingers and toes. And then that's when the second wave comes in and just starts pummeling them and beating them up and pounding them. And by that time, he's all out of oxygen. He's all out of energy. He won't be able to defend himself. And you pretty much got it done. You know? So all this ridiculousness about 100 men can't beat one gorilla is crazy. Come on now. We're at the top of the food chain for a reason, because we think. And gorillas aren't really fighters anyway. Yeah, we see them at the zoo, you know, when they feel like their territory has been breached by another gorilla, and they do that, you know, jumping on each other for a couple seconds or whatever. But they're really not fighters. They're vegetarians. They eat grass and shit. Eat apples and tomatoes and shit. They don't do nothing. Even in their natural habitat. They're just laying around eating. And then when they want to get some exercise in, they'll climb a couple trees or something and start swinging and shit. And that's it. That's the gorilla's day. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. The point is, gorillas aren't violent animals. Unless you are trying to take their woman, another gorilla, of course, trying to take their woman or infringe on their territory. Other than that, they ain't got no beef. They ain't got no beef with nobody. So I don't even know how this came about on the internet and why y'all pick on the gorillas. But yeah, if 100 dudes are going to beat a gorilla, that's the way to do it. Distract them from the front, run around and shit. You know, let them chase at you and shit. Don't let them grab you because it's over. And then the second, third, fourth, fifth waves come in and just grab each limb and just start beating the shit out of it. Now, I am not condoning this. This is just for internet entertainment. There's no reason to harm a gorilla, okay? There is no reason. But it's an interesting topic to think about it. All right, let's get into this Browns. So you know this is Cleveland, so you know we got to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round. Why did he fall to the 5th round? Why? He definitely had first round talent. Maybe not the first 5 picks, but he definitely had later first round, early second, definitely early second round. Was it because of his attitude? Was it because of his bravado? Was it because he was black? I'll be honest with you. I don't think it was because he was black. I don't think this is a race thing at all, to be honest with you. My personal opinion, I don't think it was a race thing. I think it was a personality thing. And when you're an owner of an NFL team and you're evaluating talent for your team, you're trying to find, how can I say this? Not only the best option, obviously everybody wants the best option, but you want the least polarizing to your team. And that's what I think that an owner would consider when making draft choices for his team, or the GM or whoever. But it comes to a point to where other draft picks have had certain personality issues in the past. Baker Mayfield planting the flag on the opposing team's field, cocky and brash. Johnny Manziel didn't even read the playbook. kicked it all day, kicked it all night. He even said himself, he was a partier. They both went number 1 overall. But why Shedeur Sanders? He doesn't have any kids. He didn't get in any trouble. He didn't plant a flag on the opposing team's field. All he did was play football and go to school. Never been arrested. Never been a troublemaker. Never made the news until now. So what's the difference between a Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel, and a Shedeur Sanders? Why would the coach, when they do draft him, the Browns ended up drafting him in the 5th round, and they call him and tell him that he's going to be taken off the board. Stefanski had this conversation like, well, you got to earn your keep and blah, blah, blah. Make sure you do this and work hard and blah, blah, blah. You didn't say that to the other draft picks. You didn't say that to Dylan Gabriel, who you took in the 3rd round. You didn't say that to them. You didn't say that to your other prospects. So why did Shedeur Sanders get that treatment? I just want to know. You didn't say that to Dylan. You didn't say that to I forgot who we got, but the left tackle. You didn't say that to him. You got to earn your keep. You gotta be humble. Let's talk about this humble. Let's talk about this humble. I do believe that people are mistaking humble for grateful. Humble and grateful are 2 different things. Yes, it's okay to be grateful for the things that you have. And you should be. If you're in a place that you're fortunate enough to have, more than someone else, and that you're in an okay place, it's good to be grateful. But humble is something when you are inflating, I should say humbleness is needed when someone is taking things for granted, thinking too much highly of themselves, and just not being appreciative of the things that he has. Well, Shedeur hasn't shown me any of that. He hasn't shown me that he isn't grateful for the things he has. He hasn't shown me that he isn't thankful. And it's mostly because of his dad. His dad put him in that position to where he didn't need anything. Hey, that's what parents are supposed to do. At least try to. And yeah, so he scores a touchdown and he flicks his wrist and such and such. All the other athletes do it. My point is why is everything narrowed down to this 1 5th round draft pick? It was obvious the NFL was trying to send a message. Obvious. Very obvious. He was projected to be a 1st round pick and slipped in through the 1st round, slipped through the 2nd round, slipped through the 3rd round, slipped through the 4th round. And thankfully, and smartly, I might add, the Cleveland Browns picked him. Even though it's probably more so that the Steelers wouldn't pick him. Because I think there was like some grumblings throughout that Pittsburgh was going to pick him in the 5th round. And Haslam was like, nah. We not letting Pittsburgh come up like that. I just want to know, and all of this started for me with why the Browns pick a third quarterback in the third round, knowing that they were going to get Shedeur Sanders. I mean, in hindsight, you look at it, you could be like, oh shit, they could have had Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. Unless they just didn't think that Travis Hunter was that dude. I know he's a Heisman Trophy winner, blah, 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 blah. He's a great kid. So is Shedeur. But maybe it was just something that they felt that they didn't need right now, even though you do need a receiver. I don't understand why you wouldn't pick up the top, well, in this draft, the top receiver. But with that being said, why pick Dylan Gabriel? So now you got five quarterbacks. You got Gabriel, Shedeur, Pickett, Flacco, and Watson. And Watson's probably not even going to play. He's not recovered from his Achilles injury, so he's probably not even going to play. Why even bring that? Now you got this kind of quarterback controversy. You're trying to rebuild. You're trying to get this team back on track. You're trying to move away from Deshaun Watson. Why bring this controversy? Why have this controversy? My opinion, and this isn't based on anything, this is just my opinion. I think they always did want Shedeur. I do believe Shedeur is going to be the starting quarterback over Gabriel. Joe Flacco, he's going to get a couple games, such and such, throw a couple of interceptions, lose a couple of games, and then they're going to have to bring in one of the quarterbacks. Eventually, Shedeur will be the starter of the Cleveland Browns. Is Gabriel a push for Shedeur? Is Gabriel a decoy? Gabriel's a good quarterback for Oregon. In that system, he was good. He was decent. He's a decent quarterback. He's small. He's like 5'10", 5'11". You need at least a 6 foot quarterback in this weather. I mean, we're in the AFC North. We play against Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and we're all bad weather cities. All bad weather cities. Snow, all of that. Is Dylan a decoy for Shedeur, or I should say motivation in their eyes to get him on track? Because they seem to think that he's just this troublemaker, blah, 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 blah. And he's not. He's not a troublemaker. Does he talk a lot? Yeah. But so does other athletes. Is he brash? Is he bold? Of course. Have confidence. You should. Never let anybody take away your confidence. I just think that the NFL is just in love with this idea of taking an athlete that's doing bad, living in the ghetto, and changing their life like they're fucking Santa Claus or something. And not taking into account of all the hard work that the athlete had to do to get there in this position to be drafted by said team. It's almost like the NFL owners look at athletes like they're like Make-A-Wish. I'm going to change their life. I got the ability to change their life, but they got to be grateful and they got to be humble. I'm like, come on. Shedeur hasn't said or did anything that any other athlete hasn't done or that shows a red flag. He doesn't have any red flags. If you want to take an account of his confidence and stuff as a red flag, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous. And then they got into, they started talking about his interview. And, he said that, there were certain teams that he wouldn't play for. For one, Shedeur never said that. Deion said that. His dad said that. Show me a clip of Shedeur Sanders saying that he won't play for certain teams. You can't find one. He never said that. Now, Deion said that, and we'll get to Deion in a minute. I do believe, but I know what you can find tape of. You can find tape of Eli Manning's dad, Archie Manning, saying that he didn't want his son to play for the Chargers at that time. I think they were the San Diego Chargers at that time. You will find tape of that. He said flat out, if the Chargers draft Eli, he won't be playing for him. And Deion wasn't even specific. He said there are certain teams. I mean, we know who those teams are. Come on, the Cleveland Browns is one of them. He did say there were certain teams that he didn't want his son to play for. And that's his opinion. He can say that. He's the dad. He's the dad. He can say that. He has every right to. Is it, politically correct? Especially in front of the owners? No, it's not. It's not. They're the ones that's paying, writing the checks. They're the ones that make the decisions on who gets drafted. So yeah, it's not really a smart thing to say. I have to admit to that. It's Deion. It wasn't a very smart thing to do. It wasn't. It wasn't. But even with that being said, Archie Manning said, "Hey, my son's not going to play for the Chargers." And nobody blinked an eye. Nobody said nothing. But, okay. But Deion Sanders says it. The whole world falls apart. Why? Why is that? Explain to me what's the difference between Archie Manning saying it and Deion Sanders saying it. Give me the reason. Oh, you can only think but one, huh? Huh? Me too. I can only think of one. But overall, I'm rooting for the kid. I am glad they picked Shedeur Sanders. As a Cleveland Browns fan, we done been through 68 quarterbacks. And it's just something. When I watch his games, is he a perfect quarterback? Absolutely not. He's just out of school. He's going to get better. What I did see of him, his accuracy, his decision making, I like it. I'm not even, and you know what? I'm not even gonna make no excuses for him. I'm not even gonna talk about his bad offense. He had a terrible offensive line. I mean, let's think about it. Let's really be real about it. That Colorado team he played for over exceeded. Even in that last year with the 8-win season, they overachieved, in my opinion. And then don't forget, when Deion Sanders got there, they had only won one game the year before. And then they won 4 games the first year, and then they won 8 games the second year. All I see is progress. All I see is positive progress. So don't give me all of this, Dylan Gabriel, of course, he played in is it the Big Ten? I think it's the Big Ten. Yeah, Oregon is in the Big Ten. And in a higher level of competition. I get it. I truly get it. But that doesn't mean that somebody that played in Jackson State and then played at Colorado can't be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I'm rooting for the kid. I'm glad they picked him. That was my pick. I felt like he should have went to the Browns higher. As I look up on the draft, I do like the fact that they got that extra first pick next year. I do like the trade. And the fact that they have 2 first rounds next year in their pocket, I like it. I like it better, though, that they picked Shedeur. Cleveland, we need some excitement. I mean, we had over, I don't know how many picks there were, 300, 400 picks. And who are we talking about? We're talking about the 5th round pick, Shedeur Sanders. We're not talking about Dylan Gabriel. We're not talking about Mason Graham. Even though Mason Graham was a great pickup also. People that didn't like that pick, he is a wall buster. You have him busting at the offensive line, and then you have Garrett coming off the edge. I'm telling you. People that know football understand what I'm saying. They know what I'm saying. If you don't understand football, you don't get it. Everybody talking about, well, 2 edge rushers. Yeah, I mean, 2 edge rushers would be nice. But 2 edge rushers don't stop the run. The only job edge rushers supposed to do is get to the quarterback. But if you can't stop the run, what difference does that matter? The ball isn't in the quarterback's hands anymore. And now their quarterback just busts through the wall for 10, 15 yards. So now you got Mason Graham in the middle, holding that line, busting through, making tackles. Which is going to make the quarterback say, all right, forget the run. Let's start passing the ball. And now it's Garrett's turn to shine. So you got to look at it like that. And people that know football know exactly what I'm saying. And then let's get into the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator's son, who called and pranked Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur. I'm tired of these excuses. Well, this kid, made a prank call like any other kids do. For one, he's 21 years old. He's not a kid. And number 2, how was he able to get the phone number anyway? How they did? I mean, what? They just got, important people's phone numbers just laying around the house? How'd he get it? Well, apparently he went into his dad's iPad or computer or whatever and found the number. I just didn't like the way they tried to brush it under the rug like it was nothing. This dude is going through stress, falling out the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. He's not in the mood for jokes. I'm sure he had faith and belief that he would eventually get drafted, but there was a possibility he wouldn't have gotten drafted. There's always a possibility. And so this young guy decides to make a joke out of one of the most important days of this young man's life and take away from his day, his moment. Because that was the next thing that everybody was talking about, was the prank call before he even got drafted. He hadn't even got drafted yet, and it was already on Twitter and the internet and IG and everywhere else. So you take away this young man's moment just because you're trying to get a laugh and get clicks on your TikTok or whatever. And then they try to throw it under the rug like, oh, you're just a young kid. No. What if the young kid was black and the defensive coordinator was black? Y'all be trying to have his job. Y'all be talking about fire him. And yeah, they fined him. But I also wouldn't have been mad if he had lost his job too. Because had it went the other way, you best believe some jobs would have been lost. It wouldn't have been no fine. So Shannon Sharpe is back in the news again. Seems like another lady by the name of, what's her name? Her name is, I forgot her name, but it was a relationship. It was a relationship that she had, that Shannon had in 2010. Michelle Bundy, that's her name, Michelle Bundy. So it's reported that Michelle Bundy has, filed a lawsuit against Shannon. He already has this other thing going with the 21-year-old. And so, like I said before, like I said last week, it's just going to be like a Deshaun Watson situation where all these women going to start coming out of the woodwork. And best believe it's going to be more. It's going to be more before this is done, because this is just in the beginning stages. Michelle Bundy claimed that, hold on, let me get my glasses on, because I'm getting old. You know what I'm saying? She is suing him for rape, defamation, and threats dating back to 2010. Now, I said what I said about Shannon. I really don't really have a really, strong opinion until all the facts come out. Because to me, like, none of the facts, all of this is accusations and hearsays. Like, he hasn't went to court yet or anything, so like no facts are out. But like I always said, excuse me, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it ain't looking good. That's all I got to say. I don't really have an opinion either way. I say what I had to say. Check out episode 16. I said what I had to say, and I just think, as far as that, your boy's in trouble. These are all, I think these are all like civil suits, so it's all financial. But as far as like his reputation and his marketing value, things of that nature is what I mean. Trouble, sponsorship, stuff like that. But anyway, she came out and she's filed a lawsuit. So he has two things going on. And I just have, in my gut, I just feel like it's just going to get worse, and it's just going to get worse and going to get worse. So Shannon Sharpe had, not Shannon Sharpe, Stephen A. had some things to say. If you watched Stephen Smith came out last week. I think he did like something on his podcast. He did like a 30-minute episode on, his, I don't want to say feelings, but just his perspective and what he had to say. And I watched it. And all I'm going to say is that I noticed when Jay-Z had, you remember, not too long ago, where a woman accused him such and such of inappropriateness, whatever, at one of P. Diddy's parties or whatever, such and such, and it eventually got dropped. It didn't go anywhere. But I remember when that came out, and Stephen A. Smith was very, aggressive about, hey, I know Jay-Z. Jay-Z wouldn't do this, blah, 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 blah. But when it came to Shannon, it's like, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. It just didn't seem like he had his friends back like he did Jay-Z's. And, that's all pure speculation. It's just my opinion. My opinion, it just didn't seem to me like, hey, he was, they're on ESPN with each other, every day, I'm not saying they're best buddies, but they at least got to be cordial and talk and kick, you know what I'm saying? So, to not really, I'm not going to say he threw him under the bus, but we're talking about my opinion. I just didn't think that he had his back like he did Jay-Z's. And these allegations are being brought to by the same lawyer. And you can tell, like, Stephen A. was like, hey, I don't really know what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And that's, to me, not really, having someone's back, because you didn't really know what was going on with Jay-Z, but you made sure that you told everybody else that, in your opinion, he wasn't that guy. Well, I didn't hear any of that from Stephen A. pertaining to Shannon Sharpe. I didn't hear any of that. So, like I said, I'm not saying he threw him under the bus. I'm just saying that I just didn't see the same effort that he had with JC. You know. And that's kind of like unfortunate. Unless, you know, Stephen A knows something that we don't know. And I'm not saying he does. I'm just saying that, you know, there's more to the story than meets the eye, period. And only time will tell how this shakes out. Another thing burning up Twitter. So this young lady, young Caucasian lady, so she's under fire. Her name is Shiloh. So allegedly, she had her little small kid. I don't know exactly what happened, but anyway, there was a young black kid involved, I think like 5 years old or something, with her young kid. Something happened between the two, whatever. She called the little black kid the N-word. And there was a firestorm on Twitter, and then she posted something about helping her out and stuff, that all the black backlash that she received online was stressful, and she couldn't support herself financially. So they made a GoFundMe for $500,000. And then you have people like, oh no, she said the N-word. She said this, she said that. And you know what? Who cares? I'm not saying anyone should be saying the N-word. What I'm saying is, if she wants to have a GoFundMe, this and that, and she has this, and she feels a certain way, we've all been guilty of feeling certain ways about certain things. Now, we might not have expressed it in that way, but to be upset that she's getting all this money because she said the N-word is quite ridiculous. So what? So what? Just like with Carmelo Anthony, who raised almost $1 million, probably exceeded that, $1 million. And then a certain side had a problem with that. Who cares? No matter whether you think that Carmelo is guilty of murder or self-defense or whatever, he has a right to raise money for his defense. Just like she has a right to make a GoFundMe. Anybody can make a GoFundMe. It's just, I just don't understand the selective outrage for certain things, the hypocrisy of certain things. You can't be like, well, I can do something, but you can't do it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. There's nothing here in life on earth that you can be like, oh, well, only I can do it, but you can't do it. And yes, I know that seems to be certain people's philosophy. I get that. Oh, I can do it, but you can't. Yeah, I know. It's out there. It's out there. But only you're the fool if you fall for that. If you allow somebody to gaslight you like that. You're the fool. You're the dummy. I'm not going to let nobody gaslight me like that. I can do what I want to do. And you can do what you want to do. As long as it doesn't affect me personally. And I can do what I want to do as long as it doesn't affect you personally. And I think people forgotten that. Get it together, people. I mean, I don't really have any opinion. I don't really know the whole story behind that situation and her saying the N-word, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I know. It's outrage. I get it. Selective outrage. Or Carmelo Anthony, oh, no, he's a murderer. He shouldn't. I get it. He shouldn't get that money. Yeah, but you raised money for Kyle Rittenhouse before he went to trial. He had every right to get a GoFundMe to help defend his defend himself. Zimmerman too. He had every right to get a GoFundMe and defend himself. So I don't see the reason for the anger on both sides. Well, it's basically on one side, but you know what I'm saying. In certain situations, I understand the anger on this side, and then I don't understand the anger on this side. Get it together, people. Well, thank you for joining me. Episode 17 of the Really Broke Podcast. You can check all of the episodes out on YouTube, Spotify, and you can find clips on Instagram and Facebook. The Really Broke Podcast. Join me next week, and we're going to have a brand new show for you. All right. Take it easy.